You people always think you're special just because you served. That's what she said right to his face. Loud enough that the row behind him stopped mid-sentence. Loud enough that even the hum of the engine seemed to hush for a second. And when she shoved him back into his seat, it wasn't subtle, it rattled the overhead bin. And still, the man didn't say a word. He just calmly pulled out his phone, dialed a number, and waited. Nobody knew who he was. Not really. But the pilot's voice came on less than 5 minutes later, cool, crisp, official. Due to an onboard incident, we'll be making an emergency landing. And with that, the entire plane leaned slightly, turning away from its original destination, and every single passenger began to wonder just who the hell is this man, and what kind of quiet power does he hold? That man was Malcolm Renner, and that day wasn't supposed to be anything special. He'd gotten up before dawn like he always did, fed Ruby, his old German shepherd with the stiff hips and the sharp eyes, brewed some bitter coffee he never remembered to finish, and glanced over a checklist scribbled on a post-it near the sink. Finalize paperwork for the nonprofit. Call his sister about mom's birthday. Pack light. He was flying out of JFK that morning to Dallas for a veterans advocacy meeting, nothing fancy, just another push for better mental health resources. He'd done 2 tours, one in Helmand, one bouncing between Kabul and Kandahar, and came back with a shoulder full of shrapnel and a chest full of stories he didn't always want to tell. The night before, he'd spoken at a memorial event, one of those solemn flag-folding ceremonies. He'd worn his dress blues not because he liked the attention, but because he felt like he owed it to the brothers who never made it back. That jacket still smelled faintly of gun, oil, and dust, and folded honor. When he laid it across his carry-on the next morning, it was with care, like it was a flag, not a uniform. He drove to the airport through thick morning traffic, passing people sipping lattes and honking over lanes. He didn't mind it. There was a certain peace in the chaos, familiar, like the buzz of a forward operating base. He checked in at the kiosk without issue, but something in the air felt off. Not bad, exactly, just electric. The terminal was crowded, noisy. Kids running. Suitcases bumping. Overhead speakers barking out gate changes like drill sergeants with poor timing. And when he got to his gate flight 482, he just had that feeling. You know what I mean? Like you're walking into something and don't know what yet. He waited patiently, boarding Group 3. When his group was called, he nodded at the agent and stepped on the jet bridge, slipping into that calm mode that always kicked in when spaces got tight. Row 17. Aisle seat. Next to a sweet-looking older lady in a red sweater who smiled the second she saw his folded jacket. "Thank you for your service," she said, her voice soft but steady. "My father served too." "Cordell." Malcolm smiled, warm but modest. "Appreciate that, ma'am." He slid the jacket into the bin, gentle, like laying someone to rest, then sat down. Everything seemed normal. Some family in row 19 with a squirming toddler. A couple in business suits tapping on iPads. And then her, the flight attendant. Sharon, tall, sharp-featured, her lipstick a little too red for her sour attitude. She already seemed annoyed, barking at a guy with a duffel bag to gate check it because this isn't a bus terminal. Malcolm just watched. Quiet. Observing. You can tell a lot about a person by how they talk when they think no one's really listening. Then came the safety demo. The captain said there'd be a short delay. People groaned. Sharon and a younger guy, Jacob, moved through the aisle with the usual seatbelt routine. When Sharon stopped by Malcolm's row, her eyes flicked up to the bin. "That jacket needs to be fully secured," she said flatly. He stood, fixed it, nodded. "No problem." But her gaze didn't leave him right away. It lingered. She saw the stripes on the sleeve. Something shifted in her mouth like a sneer she didn't quite let out. Then she moved on. Weird. But whatever. They sat for another 20 minutes. The lady in red, Patricia, muttered about airline schedules being tighter than a nun's purse. Malcolm chuckled, tossed in a military transport joke, and leaned back. But when drink service started, things got tense. Patricia asked for ginger ale. Malcolm asked for water, saying he had to stay hydrated due to old injuries. Sharon's face soured at the word injuries. She handed him a cup like it was radioactive. "Finish that before takeoff," she snapped. "Okay, sure. Weird again." But Malcolm had seen worse attitudes in mess halls. He sipped, sat quiet, but her energy was growing sharp, cold. Then came the first crack. Another delay. Passengers getting restless. Patricia chatted to him about her grandkids in Dallas. He shared a bit about his VFW chapter. For a moment, things felt normal. But Sharon? She was simmering. Then it happened a stupid little thing. Patricia spilled some ginger ale when the plane jolted. Sharon came storming down the aisle, gloves snapping on like she was prepping for surgery. "Just sit," she barked, practically grabbing the towels from Jacob. Patricia froze. Malcolm leaned in, trying to help. "I got it. Let me." "No, you cannot," she snapped. "Remain seated." He raised his hands. "Just trying to help." From there, things escalated fast. Another jolt. A few more delays. Malcolm stood for a moment just to tuck in a loose charger cord. The seatbelt sign wasn't even on, but there she was. "Sit down," Sharon barked. "You are not to move unless instructed." Malcolm tried to explain. Calmly. "I was just securing my charger." "Your uniform doesn't give you special privileges," she hissed. Boom. The whole row went silent. Patricia's eyes widened. The guy across the aisle literally blinked like he didn't believe what he'd just heard. Malcolm took a slow breath. "Ma'am, the seatbelt sign was off. I wasn't doing anything unsafe." Sharon glared. "I'll be watching you." And then she stormed off. The cabin felt different after that. Tense. The baby stopped crying. Everyone was listening now. But it got worse. Because when turbulence hit, she was walking through the aisle with a tray, and Malcolm, who was trained to react, reached out instinctively when she stumbled. Didn't grab her, just reached. She twisted away like his hand was acid. "Don't touch me," she snapped, loud enough to turn heads. Then deliberately, or not, her forearm slammed into his shoulder. Hard. People gasped. A tray hit the floor. Malcolm sat still, stunned. He wasn't imagining it. She'd shoved him. "What are you doing?" he asked, voice low, calm. "You were in my way," she shot back. "He was just sitting there," Patricia said, her voice shaking. The murmur spread. "That was uncalled for. Did she just push him? She's out of control." Malcolm sat frozen. But inside, he was calculating, breathing, thinking, not just about himself, but the whole damn plane. If she was this unstable, what else might happen? That's when he picked up his phone. Not to record, not to rant, to call on the chain of command. Colonel Addison, Ace Brooks, answered within minutes. Retired Marine, now a security consultant for major airlines. On board AA-482. Flight attendant assaulted me, requesting immediate escalation. Civilian safety at risk. The reply came fast. Copy. HQ alerted. Sit tight. Intervention in progress. Within minutes, the pilot came over the intercom. We're making an unscheduled landing. Boom. Sharon went pale. Jacob kept glancing back nervously. Passengers started whispering, and Malcolm just sat there still, controlled while the whole flight shifted course. By the time they landed in Nashville, airport security was waiting. Officers boarded. Sharon tried to explain. Jacob shook his head. Passengers backed up Malcolm's account. Videos had already been taken. Witnesses were clear. She was escorted off first. Tight-jawed, defiant, furious. Malcolm followed next, jacket draped over his arm, a small tear at the shoulder seam. That tear hit him harder than the shove. He gave a statement, calm and thorough. Patricia vouched for him. So did 3 others. An airline rep offered free upgrades. Malcolm said no. This isn't about perks. It's about dignity. He didn't raise his voice once. Didn't need to. Because by now, social media was ablaze. Respect our veterans. Airline assault. The story spread fast. Turns out Sharon had a history. A coworker messaged Malcolm anonymously. She's done this before. Hispanic passenger. Brushed under the rug. Now, not so easy. The airline grounded her. Suspended immediately. Launching an internal investigation. News crews hovered in the terminal. Malcolm kept his head down. He reboarded a new flight with Patricia hours later. The staff this time? Extra polite. He landed in Dallas, exhausted but focused. He had work to do, And he wasn't about to let some angry flight attendant derail his mission to advocate for veterans' mental health. He met with lawmakers, presented proposals. One general clasped his hand, saying, "You kept your bearing when it counted." Malcolm smiled. Old habit. Days later, the airline officially fired Sharon, admitted to systemic oversight failures, promised new training protocols. Malcolm was asked to consult. He agreed, not for applause, for change. Sharon eventually pled guilty to a lesser charge. Sensitivity training. Probation. No apology would fix it, but accountability mattered. And somewhere at a crew training seminar months later, Malcolm stood before a room of flight attendants not as a victim, but as a man determined to make sure nobody else would have to make that call from 30,000 feet just to be treated like a human being. So next time you fly and the crew greets you with kindness, remember sometimes it takes one man, one moment, and one firm stand to ground a whole plane and lift a whole system. But tell me this, do you think the airline did enough? Was justice really served? Or should more be done to prevent this kind of abuse? Let's talk about it. Drop your thoughts below, because this isn't just a flight story, it's a mirror. And it's time we all looked closer.